Hey, Armin. First, I just wanted to say I'm going to propose that the Strait of Hormuz become Cyrus the Great Strait. And then I did want to ask you if you would repeat what you did on the early show this morning about the three phases, just in case anyone here wasn't there.
Okay, okay. So let me try to do this one more time. Okay, so the Islamic Republic is an attempt to carry out a plan that has been years in making, even before the Islamic Republic came into power, right? The Islamic understanding, and this is pre-Muslim Brotherhood, this is Islam, is that the world is either Islam or kufr, which is unbelief. And this is a very Quranic understanding of the world, right? And it's also within the Quran that you should be at war with kufr. You should be at war with wherever that Islam doesn't rule, because the whole point of Islam is to bring Islamic ruling, not just on how you brush your teeth and wash your hand and shit and sleep, but also governance everywhere. You need to have Islamic governance everywhere, and wherever you don't have Islamic governance, you need to be at war with it until all rule is from Allah, right? So this is an Islamic teaching. And then we also have the Islamic teaching, Islamic understanding, according to the Quran, that if you sin, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not a Muslim. You could be a Muslim who drinks alcohol. You could be a Muslim who eats pork. Those are counted as sins for you, and they're going to shove hot rods up your ass in hell for every one of your sins. But technically, eventually, you will leave hell because you died as a Muslim. You will be tortured for thousands of years, and then finally, you will go to heaven, which is far preferable for to non-Muslims who are going to go to hell forever. So Sayyid Qutb from Muslim Brotherhood, I think you know guys might know him already, right? He basically, at his time, he came to the world at a time where the Muslim world was experiencing a high degree of humiliation. Why? Because there was no caliphate. After First World War, the Ottoman Empire had fallen, and for the first time in the history of Islam, there was no caliphate. And this is the many Muslims, especially religious Muslims, were dealing with an identity crisis, looking at the Islamic world weak and the Western world so powerful, and that could not be justified because they were on the right side of history with Allah. Why were they so powerful and they were so weak? And they were not used to this because for we had the Islamic Empire for for hundreds of years, and the idea from a Sunni perspective is that we are so powerful because we're on the right side with Allah, right? So Sayyid Qutb basically was a person that came with the idea based on Quranic teachings that any Muslim who denies that we should bring back Islamic rule is not a Muslim to begin with. Because when I was telling you that a Muslim, even if a Muslim sins, they're still a Muslim, here's what I should add to it. If a Muslim denies a commandment from Allah, according to the Quran, they're not a Muslim anymore. So if I'm a Muslim and I'm drinking alcohol, I'm still a Muslim, but a Muslim who's sinning, who will be punished for it unless I repent. But if I say, so if you go to a Muslim and say that, hey, why are you drinking alcohol? If he says, oh, yeah, I know it's bad, I'm sinning, I shouldn't be, then that man is still a Muslim. But if that person says, this is not a sin, I don't think Allah cares, then because that person denied the commandment of Allah, there you could takfir them, means that you could announce them to be not a Muslim. So Sayyid Qutb took that and he said that because it's a commandment of Allah to for us to fight for Islamic rule, any Muslim who thinks that is not a commandment of Allah for Islamic rule globally is not a Muslim. That means Sayyid Qutb came with the idea that we should be waging war against people who me and you would call Muslim, but he considers to be non-Muslim. Like for example, the rulers of Islamic world, the rulers of Egypt, Syria, Iraq, they're not Muslim because they believe in this nation state model, which is a Western model, instead of the Islamic Caliphate model, which is an Islamic model. And also, they're not waging war. They don't believe in waging war against the United States and Israel and everything else. So, because they're denying a commandment of Allah, we can takfir them and consider them to be kafirs and wage wars against them. And he basically started popularizing the modern version of political Islam. Islam has always been political, but Sayyid Qutb brought the modern version of it. So Sayyid Qutb failed, he was executed, and Muslim Brotherhood is not ruling over any country right now, except the only place that they're ruling is Hamas in Gaza. And then before so we based on now, with that all that in mind, you have to understand there are three different movements that was trying to bring an empire in the Middle East, right? Because of the failures of Islam to bring glory back to the people in this region and make them feel significant again and deal with this humiliation that they were feeling, we had a period where Pan-Arabism became popular. These were more secular minded, maybe socialist, communist minded Arabs who were kind of like Nazis. They were very much, actually, they were very much like Nazis. Right? They were national socialists obsessed with Arab superiority as a race. And they wanted to create it, instead of an Islamic empire, they wanted to create an Arab empire based on ethnicity rather than Islam, right? And they were socialists, they were more secular, but they were kind of like Nazis. They were like race supremacists. And the main figure here is Jamal Abdel Nasser. And they tried to bring an Arab empire, and the Israelis fucked them up, humiliated them. We had 6 Arab countries trying to defeat Israel at the same time, multiple times, and this tiny little country of Israel, back then, even without this help of United States, fucked them up all the fucking time, every single time. And Israel basically single-handedly ended the dream of an Arab empire. The Pan-Arab empire, the Pan-Arab movement was completely destroyed by Israel, which was unbelievable. Instead of the Pan-Arab empire was supposed to help with their humiliation, it amplify and significantly increase their humiliation, that this tiny new country defeated all of you at the same time. It was so humiliating. So that humiliation, and this is why we keep talking about how humiliation is important, is because the humiliation ended the Pan-Arab empire, the Pan-Arab movement. So given the Pan-Arab movement was defeated, the Islamist movement, Muslim Brotherhood, came back. And then we had the Sunni Muslim Brotherhood focused movement trying to bring an Islamic empire. And this went in many different directions. The Wahhabi side, the Muslim Brotherhood side, we had ISIS, we had Al Qaeda, we had ISIS as a state, but we had also Muslim Brotherhood trying to, and the goal. So the Muslim Brotherhood eventually tried to play the games of the West, like basically try to use the weapon of the West, voting, parliaments, president, prime ministers, all of that stuff as a trick to try to get favoritism from people within the left who were in their minds, were anti-imperialist West, especially communists and leftists who were anti-Zionist, to try to bring an Islamic empire in the Middle East and North Africa. And their goal to try to do that was, their understanding was, in the same way that the Pan-Arabists identify Israel as the main obstacle to create their Arab empire, the Islamists also identified Israel in the Middle East to be the main obstacle to bring their Islamic, not the Arab empire, but their Islamic empire to the Middle East and North Africa. So from their perspective, Israel is this tumor in the Middle East that is stopping everything from happening, right? So the Palestinian cause was created self-admittedly by the leaders of the Palestinian cause, that we don't give a shit about Palestine. This is not a national movement, that this is a trick for us to end Israel. And this is not about, actually, the leaders of the Palestinian cause was at first the Pan-Arabists. And they admitted that this has nothing to do with a national. We want to bring an Arab empire, not a Palestinian nation state. So this was an excuse to get rid of Israel, because Israel was in the way for the Pan-Arabists and eventually also for the Pan-Islamists. They failed as well. So Israel won over the Pan-Arabists, then they won over the Sunni Pan-Islamists, Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas. But now we have the third group of people, which is the Shia Pan-Islamists, who don't want to bring a caliphate, they want to bring an imamate, right? So in line with that line of thinking from Sayyid Qutb, who made its way from Egypt to Iran through this guy called Nawab Safavi, no relationship to me, by the way, but within Iran, they created a Shia version of Sayyid Qutb's ideology through Nawab Safavi before the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Nawab Safavi was executed by the Shah, by Pahlavi, because of his assassinations that his group was doing. He was killed by Nawab Safavi, inspired Khomeini and Khamenei. And the Velayat Faqih version of Shia Islam that we have now in Iran is the attempt by Khomeini to create a Shia version of what Sayyid Qutb was doing in Egypt. I'm not going to go into theological ways for how he did that, but that created the that caused the Islamic Revolution of 1979 and created the Islamic Republic. So with that, now this plan is now being attempted for a third time. So the eventual goal is global domination. So there was a three-phase plan. First, we take over Iran by getting rid of the head of the world order. The head of the world order, according to these movements, is United States. The Islam, again, I tell people, Islam is not just a religion, it's a world order seeing itself in competition with the world order, the Western world order, with its heads being United States. So first we need to get rid of US ally in Iran so that we could capture Iran, use the resources of Iran, the oil and gas, to then export our revolution. And again, remember, the revolution was not against Pahlavi. The revolution is against the world order, as the Western world order as it is. That's why even after they removed Pahlavi, they continue to be revolutionaries, because the revolution was not just against Pahlavi. This is why IRGC, the R in IRGC stands for revolutionary. Usually revolutionaries stop being revolutionaries once they topple the regime, but the Islamic regime did not stop being revolutionary because the revolution was not against Pahlavi. The revolution is against the United States and the global order. So phase one, remove Pahlavi from Iran. Phase two, and get Iran. Phase two, remove Israel from the Middle East, because just like Pahlavi was the obstacle in Iran, Israel is the obstacle in the Middle East and North Africa. So just like it was the obstacle towards the Pan-Arabists. So phase two, remove Israel from the Middle East and take the entire Middle East, and now use the resources of all of the Middle East to go for phase three, which is removing the United States and dominating the whole world. And they never got past two because Israel is the obstacle. This is why we say Israel is the wall between this evil and the rest of the world, and this is why we say supporting Israel is supporting the world, because they are trying to destroy the world order as it is, the world order that is less than 100 years old, and it was brought to us after World War II and the whole world is so much better because of it. The level of prosperity, peace, stability, and progress that we experience that the world is experiencing in the past 100 years or so is unprecedented. And we have seen nothing like it in the 10,000 years of history of civilization, and we owe it to this world order. And everything you enjoy when it comes to peace, stability, rights, freedom, whatever you have anywhere in the world is because of this new world order. And this movement is trying to attack that. So this movement is trying to basically attack the very model that is responsible for all the prosperity and growth and stability we see in the world. And that's why this is a great evil that is not just the enemy of the Iranian people, it's also the enemy of every single person on this planet. And Israel is in the way. Pahlavi was in the way, and they will remove that obstacle. But now Israel is in the way, and that's why we support Israel. I know, sorry, I went for too long. But did that
No,
answer
I
your
mean
question?
this is
Yeah.
this is very important information that everyone should know, Armin.
Okay.
There is one follow-up question by Jonathan. He says, "Isn't Sayyid Qutb the guy responsible for starting the modern Islamist jihad ideology?"
Yeah, this is modern Islamic. So Islam has always been political since its foundation. So if I say this, it doesn't mean that Islam has just recently been political, but the modern version of political Islam was founded by Sayyid Qutb, and it was imported to Iran through this guy called Nawab Safavi. But the problem with Shia Islam, so Shia Islam had a feature which was it was revolutionary, unlike Sunni Islam, because Shia Islam was a revolutionary movement against Sunni Islam. So it had being revolutionary in its DNA. Sunni Islam didn't have that. And so that was the benefit that Shia Islam had it. Because remember, we were in the age of revolutions because of communists. And these Muslims were being inspired by communists being anti-imperialist for them to also be anti, Western, this Western global order. And that's why there's a lot of overlap between these communists and these Islamic movements. But what Sayyid Qutb tried to do with Sunni Islam and failed, Khomeini succeeded with Shia Islam, because Shia Islam has revolutionary tropes and ideas within its DNA. But the problem with Shia Islam is that Shia Islam didn't have wouldn't allow you to rule unless you have the Mahdi back. And Khomeini fixed that bug in Shia Islam with his book Walayat Faqih, which means the guardianship of the jurist. So that bug was fixed by Khomeini, giving the mullahs the ability to rule on behalf of the Mahdi before his reappearance.
Thank you, Armin. Maybe one day we can read Khomeini's Risale, all of us together. I know Danny likes that.
Oh no.
No. I have it, so maybe we can take a look at that. All right, mean old lady. Oh, are there any super chats to read before we move on?
Oh yes, there is. Well, thank you for asking.
Awesome.
Okay, and a lot of them are by BT. Thank you, BT. BT saying we love our Nare. Okay, so that's one super chat. Thank you, BT. Okay, and then we have Ida again. So we love our BT. Oh my God, people are using super chats to show love for each other. Thank you, Ida. And then we have BT again saying, for my birthday, can we get Kafir tattoos? Oh my God, when is her birthday? We should have yes, we should do something as a group here for BT's birthday. I don't know. Nare, can you give me some ideas on Telegram later? Because it's BT's. We should do something. And happy birthday in advance, BT. Oh, okay. All right. So I know Nare will have some good ideas, right? So I will talk to her about that. And then Ida saying, "Word Armin." Well, thank you. Oh my God, this is so much motivating. Ida also saying Armin is the goat. Thank you. And then Mark became a new member. I have imperialism in my mind. I'm saying Mark became a new empire. Mark became a member. Thank you so much, Mark. And then we have Dominic saying Armin is one of the most intelligent people I know. Wow, a literal breeding mainframe computer. We are on the good side of history. Well, thank you, Dominic. What a compliment. Oh my God. And then 2 more super chats. Thank you, guys. That's a lot of super chats for today. Push up saying, G Armin just plagiarizes Bernard Lewis. And Fuad Ajami, more. Why don't you the kidding? Good job. Wow. Okay, Bernard Lewis. What an honor. Okay, thank you. If I sound like him, that's a great honor. Well, actually, I don't know. Never mind. He said something about Iran that I don't like. Okay, but he's considered to be a great thinker. But I just all of a sudden remember something. I'll take that all back. But thank you, push-ups. I consider that a compliment. And Mark of Reality, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. Saying when the American people elected Trump, it was to give the world order the middle finger. What? When the American people elected Trump. Okay, no, I think you guys are talking about a different world order than the one I have in mind. Okay, that's what the yeah, that's what's in the Q post and all the rhetoric. We're rebelling against the banks, Federal Reserve, City of London, etc. Okay, I don't think President Trump believes in all of that stuff at all. Like that is a whole bunch of conspiracy stuff that I don't think President Trump buys into. A lot of those conspiracy theories are basically anti-Jewish conspiracy theories that I don't QAnon stuff. Yeah, okay. And thank you. Yes, that is true. Those not a lot of I wouldn't say a lot of Americans elected Trump. I think there's a minority crazy people who were thinking like that, but I wouldn't say most Americans were voting for Trump for that. I think it was different. It was mostly economic reasons, not that conspiracy theory stuff. And thank you for the generous super chat. And then we have Roman Cabbage saying, I think BT would like sharp knives for a birthday. Okay, sharp knives it is. Thank you for the recommendation, Roman Cabbage. Okay.